All right, we're reading the last chapter of Rabbit Hill by Robert Lawson. Shall I introduce? And we have listeners in person today. Willie and Wyatt are with us listening. And they get to see the pictures. Okay, I'm going to show you the picture first. There we go. Okay, this chapter, wait, I don't think chapter 11 is right. I made a mistake. I want chapter 12. As soon as I turn the page. Here we go. Let's try this again. Chapter 12. There is enough for all. Chapter 12. Okay, boys, so you can see the picture while I read. The sun had set, and the gold of the west slowly faded to a cool, clear green. Venus, that's a star, hanging low over the pine wood, burned brilliantly, all alone at first, but as the sky deepened, the smaller stars began to show themselves. High up the new moon swam like a silver sickle. As the dusk thickened, the whole hill began to whisper with the soft rustle of small bodies passing through the grass, with a swish of tiny feet, all making their way toward the garden, for this was Midsummer's Eve, and the little animals were gathering. On the edge of the small circular lawn, the folks sat silently. That's the humans, the man and his wife. It was dark and shadowy here under the big pine. All that could be seen was the dim whiteness of the stone benches, the regular glowing and dying of the man's pipe, and the tent-like gray tarpaulin. That's a tarp. That's a long word for tarp. The top of the tarp glowed in the moon's pale light like a beacon, and like a beacon it seemed to beckon all the animals, for instead of gathering at the garden, they were all pressing closer and closer to the little round lawn. Silently, slowly, one step at a time, they moved through the deep grass and the shrub shadows until the clearing was entirely surrounded by an audience of small, tense animals, waiting for... They knew not what. What are they waiting for? They don't either. The moonlight was brighter now. The little lawn was like a small lighted stage. They could make out the lady sitting motionless on the bench. Beside her, the drowsing bulk of Mr. Muldoon. Who's Mr. Muldoon? That's a big old gray cat. That's their kitty cat. And they thought at first that kitty cat was going to chase him, but he didn't, did he? He's old and he's tame, and he didn't chase him. So they could make out the lady, and beside her the drowsing bulk of Mr. Muldoon. It was so still that they could hear his wheezy breathing. Suddenly the silence was rudely shattered by Uncle Arnaldus' harsh cry as he stepped shakily into the open. His sunken eyes were staring, his ears cocked at crazy angles. "Where is he?" he croaked wildly. "Where is he? Where's that ding-blasted old cat? Leave me at him. They're not going to hang our little Georgie." Mother sprang from the shadows, calling, "Arnaldus, Arnaldus, come back, come back. Oh, somebody stop him, please, stop him." There was a sudden stir in the lady's lap. Then, clear and joyous, little Georgie's voice rang out. "Mother!" it cried. A small form sprang to the ground and sped across the clearing. "Mother, father, it's me, little Georgie. I'm all well. Look at me, look." In the bright moonlight, he leapt and cavorted on the lawn, around and across, up and down, over and over. He jumped high over Uncle Arnaldus and turned a double handspring. He sprang to the bench and he kicked Mr. Muldoon playfully in the stomach, just playfully, and the old cat lazily caught him around the waist, and they wrestled happily, finally falling to the ground with a thump. Remembering his age and dignity, Muldoon climbed back onto the bench beside the lady, where his purr rumbled like a far-off gristmill. A joyous chattering broke out among the animals, but stilled when the man quietly rose and approached the tarp. Very deliberately he loosened its fastenings and flung it clear. In the deep silence that followed, it was almost possible to hear the sound of 100 little breaths as everyone released in a sigh of awe. The mole grasped Willie Fieldmouse's elbow. Willie, what is it?" he said. "Willie, be eyes for me." "I can hear it splashing. Willie, I can smell the good clear pool and feel its coolness. Go on, Willie, be eyes for me." Careful, don't kick it. It's a fine pool for drinking of, Mole, and at each end it's shallow like so the birds can bathe there. And oh, Mole, all around the pool is, moles are blind. So that's why Willie the Mouse is having to be his eyes. He's seeing. He's telling Mole what he sees. Mole can hear and smell, but he can't see. So Willie's telling him. And there's letters, Mole, words cut in the stones. Willie, what does it say, the printing? Willie spelled it out carefully, slowly. It says, there is enough for all. There's enough for all, Mole, and there is. Mole, there's grain, corn and wheat and rye for us, and there's a big cake of salt for the red buck, and there's vegetables of all kinds out of the garden, all fresh and washed clean, no dirt on them, and there's clover, and there's bluegrass and buckwheat. There's even nuts for the squirrels and chipmunks, and they're all starting in to eat them now, Mole, and if you don't mind, if you'll excuse me, I think I'll sort of join in and eat too. Willie joined in with his cousins who were fairly wallowing in grain. Nearby, Uncle Arnaldus, looking slightly bewildered, was gulping alternate mouthfuls of clover and carrots, because rabbits like clover and they like carrots. Porky was working determinedly on a pile of buckwheat, unconscious that a sprig of it draped over one ear gave him a most rakish appearance. There was a steady sound of chewing and munching and chomping. Here's a picture. The folk sat silent, the glow of the man's pipe rising and falling with slow regularity, the lady gently rubbing Mr. Muldoon's jowls. The red buck licked salt till his lips were thick with foam. He took a long drink from the pool and then, tossing his head, snorted loudly. The eating stopped, and Willie eased his belt a hole or two, because his softly furred little stomach seemed to have suddenly swollen alarmingly. So let me show the picture here on the screen. The humans put out food for him. They did. The humans put out food, the different kinds of food that all the different animals liked. So, with slow and stately tread, the red buck, that's the big deer, began a circuit of the garden. The doe and their fawn walked behind him. Obediently, all the other animals fell into line. There came Phuey. Who's Phuey, remember? He's the skunk, Phuey. Phuey and the gray fox, side by side, waddling Porky and Uncle Arnaldus, mother and father, with little Georgie between them, his arms around their necks. The pheasant and his wife with their mincing rocking-chair walk, feathers glimmering bronze gold in the moonlight. There came the field mouse tribe, the raccoon and the opossum, the chipmunks and the squirrels, gray and red, and alongside them, on the very edge of the garden, the quivering and humping of the earth showed the progress of the mole and his 3 stout brothers. Slowly, solemnly, the procession circled the garden until they had all returned to the little lawn, where the red buck snorted again, and all gave attention to him as he spoke. "We have eaten their food," he said, his voice ringing out impressively. "We have tasted their salt. We have drunk their water, and all are good." He tossed his proud head in the direction of the garden. "From now on, the garden is forbidden ground." His chisel-sharp hoof rapped the earth. "Does anyone dispute me?" Oh, no, none did. And there was silence, broken at last by the voice of Uncle Arnaldus. "How about them ding-blasted cutworms," he called. "They don't know no laws or decent regulations." The mole, who'd been a little slower than the rest, leaned his elbows on the earth as he reared up from his just-completed tunnel, and he turned his blind face toward the sound. "We'll patrol," he said, smiling, "me and my brothers, night and day, and turn about. Good hunting, too. Got 6 on that trip." So the mole and his brothers are going to get the cutworms. As the animals resumed their dining, Phuey and the gray fox suddenly pricked up their ears at a clatter from the grape harbor back of the house. Sulphronia's mellow voice echoed up the hill. "Hi, Mr. Skunk," she called. "Come and get it." Eagerly the skunks trotted away into the darkness. What was she bringing the skunks? Do you remember? The garbage. Remember how the skunks love garbage? She's bringing them garbage. She's bringing them like compost, leftover food. The moon was dipping behind the pine woods before the last trace of the feast was cleaned up, and the well-stuffed little animals took their way down the hill. They scattered to their respective homes with gay but sleepy farewells. Mother carried a small market basket on either arm. "Soup tomorrow," she cried happily. "Pea vine and lettuce soup tomorrow and every day from now on." Uncle Arnaldus cleared his throat. "If there ain't nobody occupying that there guest room," he announced a little sheepishly, "I might sort of try it out again for a spell. Porky's a good feller and all that, but that there burro of his is mighty musty. Oh, yeah, mighty musty. And as for his cooking, of course you shall, Uncle Arnaldus." Mother smiled. "Your room is just as you left it. I've dusted it every day." Little Georgie, running in gay circles, called to Father. "Any new dogs around?" "I understand there's a newly arrived pair of setters up on Good Hill Road," Father answered, "said to be very highly bred and quite capable. When you've had a few more days of rest and recuperation, we must give them a workout." "I'm ready any time," laughed little Georgie gaily. "Any time at all." He leapt high in the air, rapping his heels together 3 times, and he soared clear over Father, Mother, and Uncle Arnaldus. "I'm fine," he said. Each evening throughout the summer, the ledge was spread with a banquet. Each morning it was clean and neatly swept. Each night the red buck, Fewey, and the gray fox patrolled the premises against wandering marauders. The mole and his stout brothers made their faithful rounds. All summer Mother and the other women folk preserved, packed, and put away winter stores. Once again there were parties and merrymaking and laughter and dancing. Good days had come back to the hill. Tim McGrath surveyed the flourishing garden, and he lifted his voice in wonderment. "Louie," he said, "I just can't understand it. Here's these new folks with their garden, and not a sign of a fence around it. No traps, no poison, no nothing. Not a thing touched, not a thing in that garden touched. Not a footprint onto it, not even a cutworm. Now me, I've got all them things, fences, traps, poisons, even set up some nights with a shotgun. And what happens? All my carrots are gone, half my beets and cabbages et into, tomatoes tromped down, lawn all tore up with moles. Fat man down at the crossroads, he keeps doggies even, he ain't got a stalk of corn left standing. All his lettuce is gone, most of his turnips. I can't understand it. I just can't understand it." "Well," agreed Louie, "must be something." The end.
Was
I
it
think
good?
that's Uncle Arnaldus.
Yeah, that was
End of chapter, end of Rabbit Hill. And thank you for the special guest who joined us today.